Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome to another edition of eHeroes. Today's eHero is Brandon Straza. Now, Brandon comes from American Opt-in
Option.
option insurance, and the reason why I brought him on to the show. See, we stumble sometimes, but
It's fine.
here's the thing: is that I want Brandon to teach you guys why it's important not to commoditize what you're doing, because in the insurance company, in the insurance business, that's what's been happening. The services have been commoditized, and nobody cares about the individual that's running these businesses. They just care about the bottom line. And, talking off air to Brandon, this is just what he's doing in this industry, what he's doing as an individual running these businesses is just phenomenal. And so I want to thank you for coming on in the show, and let's get going.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's what happens when a band of misfits comes together. We find like-minded individuals, and we sit there and we gravitate towards each other and hear each other's stories, because it can be a lonely world if you really think about it, when it comes to our ideas and what we want to do and how we want to actually implement them to help people. Like it's not. The money's great. Like, it's great to make the money, but like how we get there in the journey and like how we create, that's one of the biggest driving forces behind what we've done with American Option.
Yeah, and you look at all these commercials, and they're great commercials. Don't get me wrong, and they have great branding behind them. The problem is that even some of these big companies have dropped that slogan. We'll save you X amount of percentage because everybody can do it.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. The savings right there. Everyone says, I can give you this discount, this discount, this discount. And a lot of them now are electronic, or they're built into your cell phone, especially for driving right now. And that's a whole nother scary thing on how much we're being monitored even for our driving. But at the end of the day, something that you and I were talking about before, as we were hopping on this, was there's three things that I think that you should pay attention to in no specific order. And those three things are: what's the service, what's the coverage, and what's the price? Mm-hmm. Like, if I can sit there and I can give you, and I'll do the same clap I did before, if I give you the high five discount, I'll give you the high five discount. It doesn't count, but like you hear Flo, and you hear the guy that played Commissioner Gordon in one of the Batman ones, and all these people sitting there saying, we've got this discount, and this discount, and this discount. They all have them. They all have them. But at the end of the day, do you want a 1-800, I don't know who the heck you are, or do you want someone, again, that has not only the service, but the great coverage, and also, good rates to go along with it? Let's be honest. Hey, it is about the almighty bottom dollar.
Well, my insurance agent, he's a really good guy. I've known him for a long, long time. I didn't go to him because he was cheaper. I went to him because, he was knowledgeable. He was my friend. I knew that if I had a question, I could pick up the phone. I have his cell phone number, and I would get the answers, and I wouldn't have to deal with, a call center. And to me, there are certain value added things that people do that are worth the money that great. Yeah, I could save, $100 by going with the lizard company, but you know what? That bottom line, that's going to Warren Buffett. It's not going to somebody else. I want a local.
It's not going back to your community. It's not going back to your community. That's the reality of it. And I'm going to see if I can get this right, and I hope I don't just throw some words out there just to throw them. I was talking to someone this morning about when I'm on the road, I own one vehicle. My taxes are paying the same amount that Walmart is paying for their 50 trucks are on that road. So that means that their tax dollars aren't going back to the community. And so what I'm trying to equate, and I hope I'm doing a good job, my tax dollars, my company's tax dollars, my team members' tax dollars are going back to the community. So yeah, I'd rather support local than the big boys and girls.
Yeah, and it's tough because, and here's the thing is that I know starting out in life, you don't always have a lot of money. So these insurance companies are there. Hey, we'll save you $1. We'll save you $100. We'll save you, and you're like, sure, I'll get the basic coverage, but that's not what you really need. And as I got older, I realized, shit, I need more life insurance coverage. I need this. I need that. the list grows.
Yeah, and I don't want to. The one thing, you never want to be overinsured, but you also don't want to be underinsured. Yeah. Insurance is there for the day that you can't see coming around the corner. And let's be honest, if none of us had to have insurance, we wouldn't. Right. Like, it's an expense that we have that until we need it, it doesn't do anything for us. And so, like, for home insurance, let's say you don't have a claim for 10 years. You're like, what did I just pay for? Someone will say, oh, like, you paid for peace of mind. Did I? Like, you know, because you don't have that peace of mind until you need it, and you're not going to remember 10 years ago. You might remember a month ago. So I get the fact that it's something that if we didn't have to have, a lot of people wouldn't. But when you need someone that can bring the value add, whether it's the consumer, you and I, it's a business partner, like in our world being mortgage lenders and realtors, you want someone that's literally knowledgeable. And I'll give you something on knowledge here real quick. My sister and business partner was at a networking meeting last night with a bunch of realtors. And someone's buying a new house. And when someone buys a house, there's several people involved. You've got a realtor, a title company, a mortgage lender, insurance company. And there's some inspectors in there. The previous agent on the house for the seller had a flood policy for 10 plus years. And the flood was between $1,500 to $1,700 a year. Now, believe it or not, this flood policy was going to make or break whether the buyer who had been referred to us was going to buy the property. I'm not a specialist in flood, but Brittany, being a specialist, helped put food on 4 different people's table and helped the customer buy the property. She realized because of when the elevation certificate was done, and that you could actually go back to, I believe, FEMA to take a look at things, it wasn't $1,500 to like $1,700 a year. It was like $400 to $500 a year, and most likely she was going to eventually be able to get out of a flood zone. So knowledge right there put food on 4 companies' tables, 4 businesses' tables, and got someone in the house that they actually wanted and was ready to walk from, because the agent on that individual's house, the sellers, for the last 10 plus years, hadn't looked into anything for that person for their flood policy.
It's just, and that's how it goes. I mean, and you can be a hero to somebody right there.
You really can. You really can. But, I mean, like, it's interesting. I go to the networking thing, and kind of shifting gears away from coverage and premium and knowledge, because that's all good, but it's not that exciting, and maybe, probably isn't like what people are tuning in for. So I don't want you to sit there and any of your listeners just think like that's what we're here to talk about. One of the things when it comes to networking, and I don't think I really understood networking until about 2 years ago. I would go to young YP events. I would go to, there'd be realtors and lenders, and there'd be other people there. And I was just there really to be like, okay, I went to something. I didn't want to be there because I didn't think that I brought any value. I didn't have anything to do other than saying I'm an insurance agent. And it was through meeting people like Steve Sims and Travis Chappell and people like you and so many other things that helped inspire me over the last several years. And though you and I just met a few months ago, it's still meeting people like you that made me realize that networking is how you find a way to bring the value. But you have to be excited about the value you're bringing. If I'm excited about great rates, great service, I'm not really still bringing any value to you. So I'm faking myself out. And that's where we realized a couple of years ago is how do we become something other than in an overly commoditized industry with all these commercials out there, with everyone sitting there saying like, hey, I'll give you a gift card for every referral. I will bring your team lunch. I'll do X, Y, and Z. And a lot of it was, I'll bring you a candy dish and here's my cards, hand them out. Literally, I'm doing nothing. I'm imploding my own industry. I'm burning my own business and industry down by having that mentality of like, I'm a candy dish boy. So I sat there as what I would not consider myself an entrepreneur at the time, just a small business owner. And I'm like, I got to do something different. I'm going to die a slow death of boredom. And I'm not doing a lot for the business partners, mortgage lenders, realtors, people that would send us business. And we're not always in their backyard because we're here in Texas and we do business in 10 states. I had to come up with something differently. So I'm like, I'd stayed away from social media by design because it just wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that if I could highlight them, talk about them, well, shit, that's not too tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not talking about me. I'm not sitting there saying, this is what we do. It was a byproduct of it, or it would come along with it. But if we could highlight who they are, what they do in the community, and what they do for a living, and then video it, edit it, put it out there, and say, hey, don't worry, we'll have the editors, we'll have the people video this, and we'll have, you know, some of the talk paths that we should be talking about, but let's be genuine about it, let's be real about it. No one else out there was doing that. Mm-hmm. In the insurance industry, I'm like, well, okay, if it doesn't work, at least I'm trying something different. And I'm actually feeling that I'm bringing value to them because I'm asking them about them. And then we're going to put it out on social media in the form of video, because video is how we consume data. You probably know better than I do. How much data do we consume visually and auditorily versus reading now?
Oh, I think it's probably 90% now, because it's we have these in our pocket constantly, you know.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, you know, more and more people are reading books on Kindle versus print. I prefer the print. I prefer physical things. But more and more people are learning from YouTube videos. They're learning from social media. They're learning more on those platforms than they are in a school type setting.
Yeah, and that's interesting. The school type setting, like there's a huge shift that's been happening, and YouTube, I think, is one of the biggest ones. We're finally getting into YouTube and YouTube advertising because we don't see a lot of small businesses. Not to skew it over to, you know, ad buys, but I think small businesses, that's an interesting thing that we're looking into more for putting advertising out there.
Mm-hmm. But see, you've done something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs aren't willing to do, and that's highlight their clients. You know, by highlighting those people, they're going to start bringing more business back to you. You know, and I think there's a phrase that I heard: if you want something, learn to give it away. So if you want more money, give it away. If you want more service, give it away, because it's going to keep coming back to you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's the give mentality.
Yeah. And you know, I you know, insurance is one of those things that you walk into a room and people say, well, I sell insurance, and they just kind of leave, because it's not a service that really people want to talk about anymore. But if you say, hey, you know, this is how I do things, and insurance is just that tool, that medium, they're like, oh, okay, tell me more. And that's exactly what you're doing, you know?
Yeah, and as being an introvert, you know, as we had talked about before the call started.
He's not an introvert. Just don't believe him.
I believe I'm an introvert, maybe not. But walking into a room, like let's say here in Dallas in the Metroplex, mm-hmm. and if I don't know many people, because we've put out so much content out there, depending on the platform, I will have from time to time someone come up and say, oh, I've seen your video. I know I've seen you somewhere. I'm like, no, you haven't. Yeah. Like, yes, I have. I've added even in the grocery store. I'm like, really? But we put enough content out there through, you know, just different social streams that I finally realized, okay, yeah, maybe they did. And it's a lot easier to start a conversation. Oh, yeah, you're the naked agent guy. I'm like, yeah. Like, I don't have to sit there. I actually don't have to be Brandon Straza. Hey, I'm Brandon Straza, one of the owners of American Option Insurance Group. Like that, like I do home, auto, boat, life, like we're a broker. Like that sounds really friggin' boring.
You can't be an introvert. Oh,
yeah, I'm the naked agent.
You can't be an introvert with the name Naked Agent.
That was 2 bottles of wine and some music in the background that helped me come up with that one a couple of years ago. So.
No, but the videos that you make for the Naked Agent are pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, I just watched one about the Pringles.
That, you know, where we capitalized on that one, and we've actually utilized that elsewhere. So we've used that for an awareness ad on YouTube that, like, it's not on literally, it's on YouTube, but like you would have to be searching for something why it would come across in a specific community. It was the day after the Super Bowl, and you had just had that commercial with the cartoon people, and so we're like, okay, we'll kind of remimic that and make fun of it and make fun of ourselves. And so we did that one, and then if you actually find the YouTube ad, then afterwards it cuts to me saying, hey, listen, we wanted to grab your attention. This is who we are. This is what we do. But hey, we like to also have fun. You just saw the full fun version of it. But yeah, that was yeah, we had fun. It was the day after Super Bowl. We're like, why not do something?
And I'm thinking, and the funny thing is that as I was watching this, I'm thinking, wow, he's got 6 monitors and it's an awesome system. And I'm like, I got one monitor. I need to up my game.
Oh, I'm looking at you. So I've got one monitor there, one there, and then I'm looking at, well, and I got to point to myself, one right there. It's made my eyes get a lot worse. I do need to kind of, my eyes have actually gotten really bad in the last 2 years.
That's because you're constantly staring at the screens.
Well, I sit so close to it as well, so I do need to fix that, quickly.
So being in 10 states, how does that present challenges?
Yeah. A lot of people ask me that when my sister first came on, asked me that, but quickly found out that it wasn't an issue as long as what you explained to, if it was the consumer who was actually getting the insurance policy from you, if it was the referral source that was sending you the business, listen, we realized that brick and mortar doesn't work.
Right.
So if you need to find us, social is really the new brick and mortar. It kind of went from brick and mortar to a website to social and a website. And so we're like, listen, we have been able to cut our overhead. So when we realize that we have equal carriers, equal coverages, but it's going to save you about an extra $150 a year, and it's a first-time home buyer, and that $12 a month, $13 a month, whatever that is a deal breaker per se, or is just like we don't have to worry about sitting there saying, I know you'll take that extra $150 a year, but I don't have all the overhead. And so we're able to make sure that when we shop for you, we give your customer that you're referring to us, that you entrust in us, literally the best rate and the best coverage that they can have, and not have to sit there and upsell it knowing they'll take that extra $150, but they shouldn't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect is like, listen, if someone sits there and says, well, I'd like to be able to go in and make my insurance policy. I'm like, hey, or insurance payment. I get that. You want to see it, touch it, feel it, Bob. And Bob's the customer in this case. I'm like, do you have any places that you call 1-800 whatever and that you make your payment over the phone, or 1-800 I need this service? Well, yeah, my lawn service this, my cell phone company. I'm like, so what's really the difference at the end of the day? Well, if I have a claim, you're in Texas and I'm here in Kansas. That's fine. We've got people on the ground, like with multi-billion-dollar insurance companies. They have people they fly in. They have people that are there. The same way that if your insurance agent's there and your house is underwater, they can't get a bucket and go do anything. They're sending in adjusters to do this. Works the same way. So it's an easy objection that we used to see a lot, and I think it was because we were looking for it because we were self-conscious of it. And when we stopped looking for it, literally, I can't think the last time that I got that comment.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that I haven't even looked, and this is just me, but I haven't looked at my policy in a couple years. I don't know really what it covers. I don't know. I know that I write a check, send it to the guy. I know that my auto insurance has towing and it has some other things. But I think that it's important that people do look at their policies frequently. For me, I trust my guy.
Well, I want to talk to you about uncommoditizing yourself in this and finding a way. So when we started, smaller team, fewer policies, and I could afford to sit there and have people reach out on a yearly basis. Then we grew so fast, so quick that I'm like, I got to put it towards sales. And the problem was we became less customer centric. So one of the things that we've started over the last 2 years is we now have a specific team of people that their job is to reach out to the customer, and if they leave a message, then they need to send an email. From there, because that does take man and woman power to do that, and it's not always efficient, we've automated through our system to where it sits there about 40, I'd have to ask someone else, about 45 days in advance, they should receive something that is a little bit of text, not texting, but text, and then a video if they want to click on it, and it sits there and says, hey, by the way, your policy's getting ready to come due. We'd love to reach out to you. If you have any questions, click on this, set an appointment, do blah, blah, blah. But there's a little bit of automation that goes behind that. And that, again, kind of uncommoditizes us and makes us to where that personal touch is still there. And I think that's important. I mean, like, literally the Geicos, the Progressives, the State Farms, like, I gotta imagine that's got to be super simple for them, but do they do it? I don't know.
I know my daughter has, I think, Erie, and they never reach out to her. They never call her, so yeah, I don't think they do. I think that, these local agents, they sit in their office, they get their residual checks or whatever, but they never contact people. They never strike up a relationship. They don't tell them what's going on.
Yeah, and I get it. We've done it.
And I've had calls from local agents here to help them with their social media. And when I look at the various offices around them, even their franchised ones, the State Farms and whatnot, they're all the different agents. They're all using the same social media. It's just regurgitated, recycled. And I'm thinking, there's no individuality. There is nothing there. And at least you are taking things to a whole different level and putting personality behind it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. I mean, because if you can't have fun in what you're doing, like, it doesn't always have to be like, here's how your car gets in an accident, and this is how it's covered. I mean, the Pringles one is a perfect example. We took that and then added a little bit more behind a private ad. But we have our carriers constantly, and we represent several of them. That's one of the things that makes us unique. They'll come to us and be like, hey, we love what you do on social, but hey, could you use our social media campaigns and plug this, this, and this? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I just don't even, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I'm like, absolutely not. I will not use anything you guys have done because it's going out to thousands of other agents that choose to use it.
Yeah.
Well, but you don't have things going out 7 days a week. I'm like, I don't care. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to use, like, this is I just plainly tell them your marketing team sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I've noticed that on a lot of franchises, not just insurance, but service businesses too, that do flood restoration, and they might help insurance companies with claims and everything, and all their marketing is terrible. It's all the franchises, I think, use the same marketing service out of the trash can. It's just awful.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, like, that puts people like you behind the 8 ball, because they're just like, well, I'm paying $150 a month. I'll say $300 a month. Because I mean, like, I had been there before. I actually brought some stuff in house, and then started getting the monkeys out of my head and having them fly the plane that was on fire. We used a service, and I think it was like $3 to $3.25 a month, and they would do a piece a week for us, and it was canned across the board. Yeah. And I'm like, well, something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And I was there. I'm like, well, at least I'm putting something out there. But that $3.25, man, find something else. I mean, like, seriously, like, you've got this right here. If you've got that right there, like, use it.
Yeah. And, and if you cannot come up with original content, follow your lead and start interviewing your clients. Get them to share their thoughts on how you're helping them.
Yeah. How interesting is that? Like, how simple is that? Like, you don't have to, if you're like, I don't like social media, because I don't. I'm not like, I'll go through phases where, like, I'll put some personal stuff up, but I'm fortunate that my wife does, and she'll tag me in it. But, like, how easy is it not to talk about yourself and talk about the other person? Like, you're having me on here, I get to talk about myself. Like, okay, we all like to talk about ourselves, even if it is to ourselves. Yeah. But it's such an easy platform to go do it.
And you're building that trust. You're personalizing what you do, and you're taking that commoditization out of the picture. And making it so that people learn to trust you. And and it doesn't matter about the price, because if you're just a little bit higher, but you're creating value, they're going to come with you anyway.
Give me a small business that's in your neighborhood. I want to try something like a small business. It doesn't matter what it is.
Okay, a restaurant.
Okay, sub shop. Okay, so you get a sub shop that it's a mom and pop place. Like, okay, how do I get more business out there? You know what? You know, like they probably catering would be like a pretty cool thing for them to help grow their business because the price point per sandwich isn't that great. Well, what if you're that restaurant or mom and pop and you go out there, you're like, well, shoot, I need to sit there and highlight people. Who's my ideal client? Oh, John owns a law firm or Sally owns a real estate firm down the road. You know what? Why don't I create something, call it, you know, Sub Wednesday. And I go out there and I'll be like, hey, Sally, you've got a real estate firm. I just want to highlight the people that are in our neighborhood, what they're doing for you. And, you know, and just, I want to put it out there on our social platforms so other people see how great, if they need to buy or sell a house, they can hear about you. All right. Hey, it's Bob and Sally over here with Tina, who owns blah, blah, blah. And you sit there and you find out about them. Coincidentally, they're going to find out you do subs. The next time they have an event, they're going to buy subs from you.
Yeah. Well, you know, this local restaurant named all their dishes after local people. And now people come in there to see if their name's on the list, if they have new menu items, and they're always busy now.
Yeah, because they made it about the community. They made it about the people that they know, like, and trust. And it's like, well, of course I'm going to go, you know, see the Brandon Straza sandwich. I hear it tastes very salty, but hey, you know, you just throw some jam on it. It's delicious.
The introvert sandwich.
There you go. The introvert sandwich. I think I might coin that one. Copyright 2020.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So,
but that's how easy as I really think it is. Like, make it about someone else, make it about your community, and in turn, if your ideal client, make it about your ideal client.
Yeah. Hey, you know, this was fun. We're running out of time, but how does the audience, the listeners, get a hold of you? How do they find you? You know, if they're whether or not they need, you know, they're buying a home, an auto, a boat, or whatever their insurance needs. How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I would sit there and I'll give out my personal cell, which I don't a lot, but like if you want to reach me on my cell, I just don't. But like if you want to have a conversation just about what we talked about here, call me on my cell, and that's 239-405-3662. So if it's like, hey, you know, small business or just business in general and how to do that, call me on my cell. If it literally is for insurance, which I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, call the office, which is the toll-free number. And well, you mean this isn't a lead gen thing? Dang. And it's 888-985-4032. A lot of smarter people that smarter than me will answer the phone and they'll get you taken care of. And if you're like, hey, I want to talk to the naked agent dude, they'll get me on there as well. As long as I'm not with another band of misfits in Las Vegas, San Francisco, going into unbelievable places and off doing an experience. So yeah, and then if you want to find us online, Facebook's a really good place to see kind of the video stuff we do, American Option Insurance Group.
Okay. And, yeah, and I'll, for those that are watching the video, I'll put the link down below to the Facebook. But that's where Brandon and I met. We met at what's called a speakeasy. It's through Steve Sims, and we met in San Francisco. And you know, this was back in November, and now this is going out, I think, February or March, and you know, so yeah, you know, no matter where you go and network, you're going to find people that you click with, and so I wanted to get Brandon on here, and that's why he's an e-hero, because he's taking things in a different direction that are, you know, other people are doing. I mean, we all know how the insurance companies are right now. Everything is gone digital. There's no personality or personal value that you're getting from anything. And so if you want to talk to a real person and understand what you're doing and how you can, you know, use what you're, you know, these insurance policies, is to me that they're all over, I mean, thousands of words. And that's probably why I said I haven't really looked at my policy for a long time, because, you know, it's not light reading, you know, but they can explain that stuff to you better than these phony online services can. So.
No, I appreciate it. I've been enjoying your platform. The last two that I listened to, Henry Sims,
Mm-hmm.
and then also the gentleman that talked about automation. I
Oh
love
yeah.
what you do for your audience, and it's a super easy platform. So I just appreciate you having me on here to talk about this, and hopefully I'll have another opportunity to hop back on here. And I'll be starting a podcast here in the next few months. So you
Yeah,
know,
we'll look forward to
it's
that one because I think
called
it's
the
gonna be really
Mastermind Effect.
awesome, and it's going to be probably different than insurance, huh?
It will be different than insurance. Yeah, there will be nothing naked agent about it, and it'll be a completely introverted show. You know, people will be clammed up. But no, I appreciate you having me on.
You know, one of the things that, and will be the last takeaway. One of the things that I was watching on yours, and you highlighted was a phrase called "comfort kills," and that should resonate with a lot of people out there who want to be entrepreneurs because you know this is being an entrepreneur is not comfortable. You have to get out there and do stuff that is uncomfortable. And it's that uncomfortable business that makes you money.
Yeah, that's that comment has resonated with me for a long time, and it'll keep me up at nights, and it'll sit there and make me question a lot of stuff. But it's very true. Comfort does kill.
So, hey, adios, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.